What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Run Up the Score podcast. I'm your host, Noah Willard, joined today by special guest Zander Julian. What's up, Zander? Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Today, we've got a little bit to talk about. We can go back through and talk about the play-in games that we had early last week, and we can recap game ones in the NBA playoffs. And we're going to continue and just preview the rest of the first round and talk about the injury luck, give predictions for the rest of the playoffs in general. So, big episode today. I'm excited to jump into it.
Let's go.
So, starting off, we're going to just very quickly talk about the NBA play-in games. First off, we have number 8 Hawks versus number 7 Heat. Obviously, the Hawks come away with that victory. The Heat looked terrible.
Honestly, yeah, they did. That was not the best game by the Heat.
Yeah, but it was a rough Jimmy Butler game. I mean, Jimmy Butler's okay. Obviously, you'd love to see Bam Adebayo do more, but I mean, Clint Capella just dominated that game. I mean, he had 20-something rebounds or something like that.
Yeah, he definitely out-rebounded Bam down in the post. Trae Young took over late in the fourth with a bunch of threes, a little flurry of threes there, as well as DeJounte Murray. He took over midway through the third, and they never let up the gas after that.
Yeah, it sucks, too, for the Heat. They had a big Kyle Lowry game that game, too. He had 33 points or something like that.
Yeah.
Anyways, you move on, and the Heat ended up winning the next game. Speaking of going on to our other Eastern Conference game, the Chicago Bulls.
Screw them.
Didn't make the playoffs, but they at least won a game.
Congratulations. Playoffs is where it matters, man. I don't see them names up on that list.
Well, the Bulls suck. I hate the Bulls. And, of course, just a little Bulls rant real quick. The the GM of the Bulls, Arturas Karnisovas, already said that he doesn't even want to rebuild the team. He's cool with the core. It's man, we're the 10 seed this year. We were the 6 seed last year. What are we doing? Anyways, Bulls come away with a win against the Raptors. The real MVP was DeMar's daughter.
Oh, yeah.
The Raptors shot 50% from free throws.
18
Hilarious.
for 36. I mean, that's never been seen.
Yeah.
That's atrocious.
And then, obviously, the next play-in game, the Heat go on to beat the Bulls.
Let's go Heat.
Kind of a terrible showing from the Bulls. I mean, the Bulls just cannot put it together consistently. I mean, it's kind of obvious going into this game which team is going to get to lose against the Bucks. Now, it has gotten a little bit more interesting, which we'll go into once we get into the first games of the first round. But it was just a little bit interesting to see Giannis go down. But either way, this game was pretty much which team's going to lose to the Bucks. And
yeah,
the Bulls kind of blew it. They had a chance at the end of the game. Moving over to the Western Conference games, like I said, real quick going through these play-in games. We had the Lakers versus the Timberwolves. The Lakers ended up winning this game. The Timberwolves really just kind of fell apart. Even without Rudy Gobert, I mean, I called it on the last week's podcast. Karl-Anthony Townsend at center just cannot play defense. He picked up 5 quick fouls, had to sit a little bit. I think he fouled out. I don't remember. Maybe he didn't. The game ended up going to overtime. You had the cool moment, Dennis Schroeder and LeBron James both getting the ice on the wrist or ice on the in the veins. Anthony Edwards had a stinker that game. Obviously, they come back and beat the Thunder in the third game of the Western Conference play-in. I mean, Josh Giddey had an awesome game in the first game. Lou Dort, the Dorcher Chamber, had a great game. Couldn't get it done against the Timberwolves.
No, that second game against the Thunder for the Timberwolves they were firing on all cylinders. Anthony Edwards went off for close to 30, if not 30. Rudy Gobert, with his flurry of blocks, and Cat really doubled down on defense, actually got it done for once. So Timberwolves they're going to be an interesting team, for the remainder of the series in the playoffs.
I think so too, especially now. I kind of thought they were going to get crushed in the play-in, both games. Losing Jaden McDaniels and obviously the first game not having Rudy Gobert. I thought that defense was really going to struggle, but Anthony Edwards has been really good on defense for them. Obviously, they did get killed by the Nuggets Sunday night.
29-point loss. It was over before it even started. Timberwolves did not show up to play. Jokic is just out there screwing around, having fun. So lucky to get this to 6 games.
I would have liked to see the Timberwolves do better this season. I think that they had a solid team.
They do have a solid core, seasoned core, experienced core. Anthony Edwards in his 3rd year now.
Yes, third or fourth year.
Yeah. Rudy Gobert, obviously, they've got a few incidents behind the scenes they're kind of working out. But, I mean, the chemistry is really where it's killing them. I mean, too many turnovers in transition, take fouls, screwing them over really early on.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if they can even take a game from the Nuggets, to be honest with you.
Yeah, if they get one, it's only one. They're only going to win one. And I would assume it would probably be like that third or fourth game to, when the pressure's really on to avoid a sweep.
Nobody wants to get swept, you know what I mean?
Exactly, and it's very hard to do, especially that closeout game.
Yeah, so do you have any other thoughts on the play-in real quick before we just go ahead and move on to the meat and potatoes? I would love to talk more about the play-in, but it happened a week ago, so maybe next year we'll do a episode in between, but just jump in right in what people care about. I do want to go ahead and preface before we jump into the playoffs, we are recording this episode on Monday before the two games tonight. So we've got all game ones of every single series right now. We have not seen what happens in the Nets-Sixers series, in the Nets-Sixers game 2 and Warriors-Kings game 2 that you guys will be seeing the night before this video or this podcast gets published. We're just going to go ahead and start, and we're going to go in the order that the games are played. So starting off with 76ers versus Nets. You got any opening thoughts that you want to talk about?
76ers look dangerous when James Harden shows up to play.
Yeah.
When James Harden has however many threes he knocked down, 10-plus assists, 8 rebounds, something like that, all-around player. He looked like he was back in Houston. And then they got Joel Embiid, reigning scoring MVP, potentially the MVP of the league this year. I think my vote would go to him.
I think my vote, it's close. I think I would choose Joel Embiid right now, though.
Yeah, over Giannis or anyone else. Yeah, it's got to be Embiid.
Yeah, I think that, this is the James Harden game. I mean, the guy shot 38%. It didn't matter. It was still a James Harden game. He had a great game. It was really kind of, I don't know. It kind of sucks for the Nets because I know this is a team that isn't necessarily having aspirations of, I don't think the fan base expects to win this series. But when you have guys Mikal Bridges is a dog, man. I mean, he had 30 points in game 1, 5 rebounds, 1 assist. Cam Thomas had a good game, but it's really, it's the two of them. You'd like to see Nick Claxton do more. He had an okay defensive game on Embiid, not great, but you're never gonna have a great defensive game on Joel Embiid. But he had an okay game on him.
But in this series, you can't just have an okay game.
Yeah, when you need him to
Claxton's
score,
gotta step up.
The way this Nets team is built, Dinwiddie needs to be playing better than he is, and Nick Claxton needs to score more than 5 points. He took 4 shots. I know that his game is built around defense, and maybe I'm just not giving the Nets credit because they don't really have a prayer of winning the series. But
yeah,
Nick Claxton does need to step up if they want to have a chance.
I think we do have to give them credit for being in this position to begin with, especially with losing KD, losing Kyrie, losing James earlier in the season. Or last season, was it?
Yeah, last season.
For them to have put together Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson and Claxton and just make it work towards the end of the season, it's really impressive. However, first game of the series, losing by 20 to 76ers, Claxton's got to step up. You saw Mikal Bridges. He can ball, and he's going to continue to ball.
Oh, man. When he was on the Suns, this is such a cold take for me. I would go around and tell people, I was like, he is an elite role player. But after watching him on the Nets, man, the dude could be an all-star. If he stays on the Nets, this is a team where it is his team, all the defensive focus is on him. He is the offense, he is the defense, he is the entire team, and he still has been. He's been absolutely out of his mind since.
I say if you stayed with the Suns, you're not going to be an all-star anytime soon.
No.
Just because you've got so much firepower. You move to the Nets, you're that lead guy. If he could be. He reminds me a lot of Tyrese Halliburton in his first year with the Pacers. You'd carry a team that's subpar to a better standing in the conference. Mikal Bridges, he's still maturing. He's still kind of new in the league. But you give him time, give him another full year under the offense and the offensive scheme on the Nets, and they're going to be dangerous next year. But no, it's probably not a shot they're going to win this series.
Now you look at the I know this is kind of going off from the playoffs right now, but you look at the package that the Nets got for Kevin Durant. 4 first-round picks, some pick swaps, and they got Mikal Bridges and Cam Thompson. Both those guys can be flipped. I don't know what Cam Johnson will get you. Mikal Bridges is going to at least get you 1 first-round pick. I'd say could get you 2. I mean, he's the ideal player that a contending team wants.
I don't think he's going to get 2 quite yet. I think Mikal Bridges, honestly, is more of a second-round pick swap type of guy at this current moment. He's proven himself in clutch situations. He's leading this team back to where they kind of hoped it would be with their core 3 of Kyrie, Harden, and KD early on in their years. But he's got to make this consistent. He's had a few games in the past where it's just 30 points, and then he's got 15. Then there's another 44-point game. Who knows where that comes from? And then he's down to 15. Definitely got to put this team on his back a little bit more. But I think the direction he's heading in especially could get him there eventually. I don't think he's quite there yet.
Yeah, so we spent way too much time on the Nets. Let's look at the 76ers, though. The team that actually won this game, the team that is a real contender out in the East. You have, obviously, we said this was a James Harden game. I mean, he shot 38%, but he had 7 threes, still 23 points, 13 assists, just facilitating for his teammates. You said it best, said how impactful he was outside of just the shooting.
Yeah.
I mean, if you watch the game, I mean, it didn't look like he shot 38%. It felt like he was amazing.
Yeah.
Then you have guys like Tyrese Maxey, who did not have an incredible game for his standards. But then you have guys like Tobias Harris that's going to step up, shoot the ball 64%, hit 3 for 3 threes. That's a lot of threes in a row. Score 21 points and kind of prove that, that contract they gave him, he's going to prove that maybe he deserves some of that. So
I mean, Harden, 36 minutes, 7 for 13 3, but then 1 for 8 in the mid-range. That's unacceptable. James Harden, all-star, seasoned veteran, that's unacceptable. Only 23 points, won by 20. I think if Nets want any chance of winning this game against a team that's producing when their star players aren't producing as much in the mid-range, they got to pick it up.
Yeah, and so I completely agree with that. If the Sixers do want to make it far, obviously Harden has to shoot better. But I mean, he's doing everything right outside of shooting. Embiid obviously has got to be a little bit better. But like I said, he did have Nick Claxton on him. Nick Claxton is a great defender. I mean, he still had 26 points. Yeah. So still a great game for Embiid, but it's not a Joel Embiid type game. Like you expect. I mean, he only shot 46% from the field, 25% from the three. You just expect more out of Embiid at this point. But I mean, at the end of the day, 11-11 from the free throw line. I mean, you can't fault Joel Embiid.
How about Tobias Harris though? 9 for 14, 3 for 3 from 3. Added 4 rebounds and 4 assists, 21 points. Third leading scorer on the team. It was an incredible game from him. It was an efficient game from him. He really turned it on when it needed it most, especially down the stretch there. So Tobias Harris needs a little bit more credit too.
Well, and I'm curious if he is – I mean, if this is the kind of production you can get out of Tobias Harris, this is a Philly team that could easily make the finals, easy. Because, I mean, Tobias Harris is such a polarizing player. I mean, he's still a very good NBA player, but because of that contract that he got, getting paid on max money, I believe, I mean, it's so hard to expect it's like people expect him to be the player that James Harden and Joel Embiid is just because of what he's getting paid. And in reality, that's just not what he is. But if you look at him as a pure NBA player, I mean, if he can play like this, I mean, he's definitely going to be a key piece in this Philly team making a run at some point.
Yeah, I mean, he was the most efficient player on the floor that night. And everyone's talking about Mikal Bridges went off for 30. Nick Claxton locked up Joel, as best you can.
Best you can, yeah.
James Harden had 7 threes or whatever the number was. I think it was 7 for 13. But Tobias Harris was the backbone of that team. He was pouring in that quiet 21 points that night to kind of help them stay afloat, especially first half.
Yeah. So, any more thoughts on this particular game? All right, cool. So
76ers in 4.
All right, so that's your prediction. I'm saying 76ers in 4 as well. I think if the Nets win one game, it's been a successful series for them. Moving on to the next game of Saturday, we're going to talk about the Atlanta Hawks versus the Boston Celtics.
Torture.
Yeah, the Celtics are really freaking good, if y'all didn't know. Playoff JB is back. Jaylen Brown with 29 points on the night, shooting 52%. He was their best offensive option that night. Also tacked on 12 rebounds and 3 assists with a steal as well. He did have 6 turnovers, so that's something to look at. But, I mean, I've been saying for a long time, I think Jaylen Brown is an exceptional offensive player. I think he could lead his own team. he just kind of gets overlooked because they got a guy named Jason Tatum who also had a very good game, 25 points, 11 rebounds, 2 assists for Tatum. Derek White had a great game with 24. Just a great game there for the Celtics. The Hawks really didn't stand a chance in this game.
Yeah, especially with Derek White going off for 24 points as well. Very efficient. The Celtics starting 5 hardly missed anything. I mean, Jason Tatum, he missed 13 shots. That's kind of dumb. But Jaylen Brown, going off 2 for 6. Probably would like to see his 3-point percentage be a little bit better, especially since he had some open looks early on in the corners. But the final score of this game does not reflect how lopsided the game actually was. I mean, at halftime, I believe they were down 30, 31 points. Or Atlanta Hawks were. They were down 30, 31 points. Trae Young is largely to blame for that. He's supposed to be their star franchise player. Wants his contract extension. He is not producing. He is not hitting his threes. I mean, 5 for 18, 1 for 5 from 3, 3 rebounds, 8 assists to the players that actually can score consistently on this team. I mean, what do you think of Trae Young's performance?
Yeah, did not have a good game. And this is another series where I don't really know if anybody could sit here and honestly say that the Atlanta Hawks could beat the Boston Celtics. I mean, the Celtics are one of the favorites to come out of the East. But if you want to take a game or two, you're going to need Trae Young to play better. DeJounte Murray had an okay game. I mean, really, the Atlanta Hawks shot 38% from the field in this game. And I don't know if I necessarily want to blame the Hawks. I think the Celtics are just that good on defense. And I don't know, man. I had the Bucks making it out of the East, but after kind of watching that first game, I know it's one game. I'm not going to overreact over one game. But especially with the Giannis injury, which we'll get to later on, I mean, the defense of Boston, and they have this two-headed monster in Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, and then they've also done a great job at keeping Rob Williams healthy because he's been injured like every year. They kind of rest him up a little bit. They had him coming off the bench in Game 1. I mean, I think what they're doing is terrific. I think that there's a real conversation to be had for who's going to win the East, which we will have a little bit later on.
Coaching is largely in part to how well the Celtics core has done so far this season. But I'm not going to count Hawks out quite yet. I mean, they're 41-41. They win half the games on the road, half the games at home. They're such an evenly balanced team, though if they win 5 games, they're going to lose the next 5. So I do think they've shown that they can bounce back from tough losses. But yeah, against the Celtics team, I definitely don't see them winning the series. I think they can get a game or two. I think they could potentially force this to 6, just because Trae Young does have that star power ability.
Mm-hmm.
DeJounte Murray was 0 for 6 from 3. He knocks in 2 or 3 more of those. If he goes 50% from 3, 3 for 6, it's doable for him. Add another 9 points to their score, it's 109, 112, or 108, 112. Now you got a game where you got to keep those Celtic starters in, wear them down a little bit, and see if we can make a comeback. And we both know comebacks in the NBA is very, very possible.
I mean, it happens all the time.
All the time.
No, I completely agree with you. I'm going to go ahead and give my prediction for the series. I initially, before the series started, said Boston in 5. I'm going to stick to that prediction. I'm going to say Boston in 5. I really, really want to say that they're going to sweep, but you're right. When they've got guys like Trae Young, DeJounte Murray, I mean, I cannot envision they don't have one game where they're hitting on all cylinders. I mean, you saw, like you said, in the first half, they were down 30 going into the halftime.
Yeah.
So they won the second half. They had a big third quarter. If they can put that together for a full game, then they win this. They can win a game.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say Boston in 5 still.
And it's very interesting because if Atlanta loses this, it'll be very interesting to see where Trae Young ends up next season.
Yeah, because there's rumors that he might get traded.
Yeah, and he tweeted out a few nights ago, rumors may be true, rumors may not be true.
Interesting.
So we will definitely monitor that as the rest of the season, the rest of the series goes on, because it looks like the series will be the rest of their season.
Yeah, so I'd be interested. I think Trae Young is going to end up staying at the end, but I would actually be very interested to see if he does leave. Anyways, any other thoughts on this series? What did you say? Official prediction? You said 5 or 6.
I'm gonna go Celtics in 5.
Celtics in 5. Okay.
Trae Young's not worth the max.
Interesting take. Well, we'll pull up this after he Makes All NBA next season or something like that.
That's not a shot.
All right, so moving on to the next game. On any other time, you'd say this is the best game of the day, but it's not. It's the second best game of the day because of the last game. The Knicks versus the Cavaliers, though. What a great game. You had pretty much New York did exactly what they tried to do, what they set out to do in this game. The Cavaliers, they let Donovan Mitchell play. Donovan Mitchell had an awesome game. But then they said, you know what? We have the depth. We have Josh Hart. We have Emmanuel Quickley, although Quickley did not have a great game. But I think the Knicks realized that they had the depth in this series, and they really leaned on that. It was like their starters. The only player in their starting lineup that got over 30 minutes. There were two. Julius Randle got just over 30, and R.J. Barrett got just over 30, which is unusual for Tom Thibodeau teams. They normally run out guys for 40 minutes, especially come playoff time, especially because people were doing that, are doing that in the playoffs.
Yeah, it shows here on ESPN, Julius Randle got 34. Jalen Brunson got 30 minutes. It may have been 29, may have been 30, but they rounded it up.
29-30, according to NBA.com.
And Josh Hart, 33. So it looks like, R.J. Barrett, you're correct. Yeah, had 31 minutes, 2 of 12 from, the field.
Terrible game for R.J.
He's a shooting guard. The fact that they pulled this out with shooting 2 for 12, Julius Randle 7 for 20, Jalen Brunson missed 13 more shots. They weren't hitting any threes all night. Julius Randle, the fact that he went 3 for 10, and he is a decent three-point shooter, just makes me wonder what all went wrong for Cleveland. Because going into this game, Cavaliers, I had them winning this game all day. And they were winning, by 5, 6, 7 points.
It was back and forth all game, yeah.
Yeah, it was very back and forth.
Yeah, so it was really a defensive matchup. I'm trying to figure out what I wrote here in my notes. I wrote need more from Mitchell.
Absolutely.
Donovan Mitchell had a good game, so I don't know why I wrote that.
No, I would say need more from Mitchell. 38 points. That's exceptional. But if you go off his shooting percentage, 14 for 30,
not terrible.
Just under 50%. Not bad.
In a game where nobody was really shooting the ball well, though, I don't think it's awful.
6 for 16 from three-point range. That's 10 missed threes. I think, really, if you're really going to critique him at all, it's know when to shoot, which, I struggle with personally. But
yeah, we played intramural together. This guy Zander likes to shoot, but
I like to shoot.
If they're going in.
If they're going in, that's the key. And at halftime, he had already missed many shots. Second half was definitely where he kind of, I don't know what the right word is. It's where he just shined. It's where he decided to actually step it up. But 6 for 16 from 3 for Donovan Mitchell is just, to me, it's unacceptable. Missing 10 threes. If you know you're not hitting, you've got to pull that out. Get others involved. It looks like 8 assists, but for Okoro and Mobley to combine for 14 points, and that's the starting shooting forward and power forward, you've got to see more production from the rest of the team.
Yeah.
And Donovan Mitchell had 8 assists. He was dishing the ball out, but if the team's not coming to play, they're not going to win. And they showed that today, or a few days ago.
Yeah, so I think Donovan Mitchell had an awesome game, almost 40 points. 8 assists, 5 rebounds, a few steals, a block. Great game for him. But, there really wasn't anybody. Well, I'll give Jared Allen his credit. Jared Allen had a decent game. But other than the two of them, nobody else on the Cavaliers really stepped up. You had Darius Garland. He shot the ball okay, but, your starting point guard, he had 1 assist and 5 turnovers. He had some steals and a block. So, he had a decent defensive game, statistically at least. But, you really want your starting point guard to do more than 1 assist and 5 turnovers. Yeah. You look at Evan Mobley, 4 for 13, terrible shooting game for him. Okoro, it really felt like he was just kind of running around out there. But I think the biggest thing it came down to, because this is really a defensive matchup between both teams did their job defensively, is it really just came down to the depth. The Cavaliers got 18 minutes out of both Jetty Osman and Karis LeVert. But then, they got a couple minutes from Dean Wade and a couple from Ricky Rubio, and that was about it. Meanwhile, you go over to New York's side, You got Josh Hart pulled in almost 33 minutes, had 17 points, 10 rebounds.
Very efficient.
Great
17
game.
points too.
Yeah, 72%. Great game for him.
8 for 11, 1 of 2 from 3. But you kind of look at that matchup with R.J. Barrett versus Darius Garland. Darius Garland needs to get through his head that this is playoffs. You know, his average of 10 shots taken a game, that's gotta ramp up. And he's an efficient shooter when he shoots, but a lot of his shots are open shots because all the attention goes towards Donovan Mitchell and honestly Jared Allen down in the paint. So Darius Garland, 7 for 13. He missed his last 2 and he stopped shooting. It was really just a game of hot potato. Get the ball to Mitchell, let it be Mitchell versus Randall down the stretch. Yeah. And obviously, without any of the help from the other 4 players throughout the rest of that game, Mitchell ultimately couldn't get it done.
I mean, it reminded me of the Jazz, and the Jazz never won a championship. Like, they pretty much give Mitchell the ball, let Mitchell score. We're not going to do anything else on offense, and we're just going to play defense. And that's what it looked like. It was Donovan Mitchell and then defense is pretty much what it looked like.
Yeah. I mean, when he got traded, he was saying that he was having the most fun in the NBA that he's had in his entire career. And while that may be true, if the rest of his players don't step up and hit maybe just 1 or 2 more shots, that's all we're asking for here. Hit like another one of those shots in crunch time, they may not make it out of the series. I don't know. It's
going to be a close series.
Definitely a very even matchup though, because not to discredit anything the Knicks have done this season, they've definitely turned their kind of fate around from the past few seasons where they're just dog water. But Cleveland, they've got to step it up a little, and that means the other 4.
Yeah.
And the bench especially. I mean, 14 points combined on the bench. They had 5 or 6 guys on the bench that did not play. You're going to exhaust your starters real quick, especially in a physical neck-to-neck game where there's like 20-plus lead changes throughout the entire game.
Yeah. I actually very much so, I'm going to move on and I'm going to predict this series. Yeah. I very much so underestimated how good this series was going to be. I initially had actually chose like Cavs. I wanted to say Cavs in 5. I ended up saying Cavs in 6. Toby last week actually predicted the Knicks to win this series, so he might be the only person I've talked to that actually predict the Knicks. I'm still going to go Cavaliers. I absolutely would not say Cavs in 5 anymore. This Knicks team really opened up my eyes in that first game. Jalen Brunson's that guy. So I'm gonna say Cavaliers in 7. I think this is gonna be a really good series. I'm gonna say Cavaliers in 7.
Cavs in 7. I'm gonna disagree. I'm gonna go Knicks in 6. It's basically at this point Donovan Mitchell versus Randall, Brunson, and Barrett, and then they're getting good minutes off the bench for Josh Hart, who is pouring it in. He's a shooter. He's a seasoned player. I think the firepower on New York Knicks, when healthy and when they're hitting their shots, is too much for Cleveland as a whole to overcome, especially when their other 4 players aren't playing up to like their standards.
Well said. So we're going to move on to the final game of Saturday night, Warriors versus Kings. Zander, you're a Warriors fan. You want to go ahead and give us your thoughts on the game to start?
I wanted to break my TV after that ended. I don't even know where to start. I mean, great game for the Kings, right? What a way to turn their season around. What a way to get into the playoffs. But now they're going against reigning NBA champions, winners of 4 out of the last, 10.
Right, I mean, you just got to drop that in there, don't you?
I have to. I mean, how many of the Bulls won since the,
All right now.
But, I mean, it's 123-126, all right? It's a close game, but that was the Warriors' game to win. They were up 10 at one point. That was the highest lead. A lot of lead changes, though, in the fourth quarter. They kind of blew it at the end of the third. We all saw they were up 9 or 10 with maybe a minute left, and they just fell apart defensively. You can see Klay Thompson kind of ushering for them to kind of just quiet down, play our game, and we're good. And I don't know what happened. It was a complete defensive fall apart towards the end. Curry, though, came to play. Absolutely came to play.
I think that, for one, De'Aaron Fox is him. De'Aaron Fox is awesome. I mean, I don't think that Draymond even came out and said it wasn't De'Aaron Fox that beat us. Like, De'Aaron Fox had a great game, but we expect De'Aaron Fox to do that. is the fact that they gave up, was it 32 to Malik Monk?
It was Malik Monk.
And
that beat them
they
in the
had,
fourth.
I mean, the entire Kings bench had an incredible game. So you really look at the Warriors, and, I mean, Draymond did his job on Domantas Sabonis. Domantas Sabonis had a stinker, and you can't count on him to do that every game. But, I mean, I think that their strategy is pretty much, Fox is going to kill us, but they've got to guard the other guys, especially when the bench is coming out and giving up as many
55.
55 points
bench
off the
points
bench
for the Kings.
Gosh.
And, over half of that was Malik Monk. And to his credit, he hit shots and he attacked the rim all day. And Looney did as much as he could, but Draymond, losing his cool a few times throughout that series, or throughout the game, sorry. It'll be interesting to see where this goes from here.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see what De'Aaron Fox continues to do in this series. And like I said, I'm curious to see what Sabonis does in the next game. He's got to have a bounce back at some point. I think in terms from a Warriors standpoint, Curry had a good game. You'd like to see him go to the free throw line more than twice, but whatever.
I think this is going to be a game purely based off of who can score more. Because the defense is there, but they're playing against guys like Curry, Thompson, and Jordan Poole, who are averaging over 20 points each. Klay Thompson, his first season with over 300 three-pointers. Jordan Poole had 200 three-pointers this season. Curry had over 300. If you want to stop the Warriors, you need to score more, especially down the stretch. And, Klay Thompson missed a few shots towards the end. Wiggins missed the potential game winner. All credit to him. First game back in 2 months. He played a great game. But to beat the Warriors, I think it's not going to come down to Sabonis and Looney. It's going to come down to, is Curry and Klay, will they be able to produce more than Malik Monk and Fox?
You hope so.
And I personally, I do. Yes, absolutely. And I know we're going to turn it around. We're winning tonight.
I'm not worried about Malik Monk dropping 30 again. I think that they're going to key in on him. And something to really look at is Jordan Poole hurt his ankle towards the end of the game, and he's still questionable for game 2. Obviously, you guys will know whether or not he played by the time this podcast episode comes back, but we still have no idea. Which, yes, you're losing a lot of scoring when you lose Jordan Poole, but when you have the two guards dominating you, Curry's not going to be a lockdown defender. So where those minutes are going to come from Poole. You're going to give Gary Payton II more minutes, or probably Dante DiVincenzo more minutes, each of which had about 20 minutes yesterday. Giving those two guys more minutes can't do anything but help your defense.
Dante and Gary Payton are the backbone defensively of this team.
Draymond.
I got to go Gary Payton.
No shot.
When you need a boost of energy and you need, morale-wise, Draymond Green's the backbone of this team. But when it comes to defensively, and I know Gary Payton's only been here for a few months, but he has proven time and time again that he is one of the elite defenders in this league with the average steals he's getting per game, the amount of blocks, especially for how small he is. He locked up Damian Lillard throughout the season. He's locked up, I can't say De'Aaron Fox because he just scored who knows how many, 38 was it, 36? 38.
I think it was 38, yeah.
I'm going to take that back. Draymond Green's definitely the defense.
Give me Draymond. I was about to say, I'll take Draymond 7 days a week.
But Gary Payton, I want to rephrase this. Gary Payton on the perimeter is the defensive guy for the Warriors.
Absolutely.
In the paint, it's Looney. And then in the midfield area, that's mid-range area, that's Draymond.
So, as we go into the rest of the series, what's your prediction here?
I wanted to say Warriors in 4, but that clearly is not going to happen. I'm going to go Warriors in 6. I think Warriors are just too seasoned to kind of let what happened slide again. They're not going to give up those points down the stretch. They got to limit De'Aaron Fox. I know Malik Monk, right? He had 32 points, and he did a great job, right? I'm still worried about him because he's been that guy all year for them. He has produced, and the fact that he's coming off the bench is ridiculous. But if he keeps producing that way, we got to put someone like Wiggins on him, right? I don't know how else to stop him other than putting Wiggins on him. But I'm going to say Warriors in 6.
So We already got a Kings light the beam, so that was kind of cool. But I think I'm gonna go Warriors in 7. It's gonna be interesting because the Jordan Poole injury is gonna play a part in it, and Andrew Wiggins needs to kind of get his footing after coming back.
Yeah.
He had a kind of a rough game the other day for his standards.
Yeah.
But I mean, even the game on Saturday, I mean, Curry had an open look to tie that game and bring it to overtime. He had a
It was
running
a 3-point floater.
Yeah, but that's a shot Curry makes.
It's a shot he
and
makes.
he was having a great fourth quarter.
He still had 1.2 seconds left on that clock when he took that shot.
I don't know. I like that shot for Curry.
I don't. I love Curry. I mean, personally, like I like to put myself in their shoes. Like you had enough time to pull up for a good form shot, or take one more dribble, cut into the right side of the court, and take kind of a fadeaway shot, which he's been making consistently this season. Like step back threes and pull up threes, he is top 3 percentage wise for the league, and that includes mid range as well. But I didn't like the shot choice to end the game. I loved Wiggins' shot; it just unlucky roll. But I think this was the Warriors' game to win, and they let it get away from them, especially in crunch time.
All right, so time to move on. So you got Warriors in 6. I'll take Warriors in 7.
We'll see how it goes today.
It's going to be this has been my favorite game of the first games. Moving on though to the second half of the first games, we're gonna go over to Grizzlies Lakers. This game was really interesting. This is where kind of all the crazy injury crap started happening, and I mean Sunday we had injury stuff going on all day, but I mean. I'm worried for the Grizzlies. My initial prediction for the series, I'll go ahead and give my prediction now. My initial prediction for the series was Grizzlies in 7.
No shot.
But I don't see how the Grizzlies win this series anymore. Ja Morant, it came out that he's doubtful to play in game 2. He's not ruled out. His X-rays came back negative, but he said his pain level was on a 10. I mean, he landed right on that hand. They're already missing Steven Adams and Brandon Clark. I mean. And I don't know. The Lakers looked good. Obviously, I hope whatever happened to Anthony Davis isn't anything major. But he hurt his shoulder at some point.
Well, I just popped out of plays. He got it fixed over during the break, and he comes back out and he produced on a high of an efficient level. I think Grizzlies in 7 is a stretch. I don't think that's happening.
That's what I said. Yeah, I think I'll take Lakers in. Do I even want to say 6 or 5? I'll say 6 still. I
think 6 is the safe side, especially if Ja comes back game 3 or 4. He's doubtful.
I mean, they don't win the series without Ja, though. Not a prayer.
Not at all. But
especially if he doesn't come back in the next game and they lose the next game and they go down 0-2, there's not a shot.
It'll be over at that point, yeah. But Lakers have been, since all the the trade deadline, getting Rui, who else did they get? They got Vanderbilt.
D'Lo.
They are producing. They're stepping up. Austin Reeves has had what a game, especially down the stretch. There was a freeze frame where they showed LeBron James in the corner, like wide open. I don't know if you saw that. And you see Austin Reeves had 2 guys on him, and he continued just to wave everyone off.
He did his thing.
He did his thing. And D'Lo's capable of that as well. Vanderbilt chasing around. Vanderbilt was chasing around. I think it was Morant all day. I mean, picking him up full court until he got injured. I think this Lakers team has what it takes. I'm going to say it. I think they can win this round. I think they can win the next round. Potentially the round after that.
Interesting.
Lakers they're serious now.
I think so too. I mean, they were hot after the trade deadline.
And if they had the team, the constructed starters that they have now, if they've had that for the entire season, I think they'd probably have had another 5-10 wins under their belt coming into this series. So before the jaw injury, I said Lakers in probably 7. After the jaw injury, Lakers in I'm gonna go 5. I just don't think, especially with jaw out game 2, or most likely out. We'll see.
I mean, even if he plays, he's going to be banged up.
It'll be tough to beat him.
I mean,
it's a shooting hand, too.
It sucks, too, because you had a great game out of Jaren Jackson Jr., stayed out of foul trouble, did exactly what you wanted him to do. But, I mean, what if I told you on a team where you have LeBron James and Anthony Davis that the 2 leading scorers were Rui Hachimura and Austin Reeves? I think that's hilarious.
Is him. I'm going to say Austin Reeves is him, and he's going to be the key down the stretch in this series is going to be Austin Reeves and D'Angelo Russell. I want to see him shoot more. I want to see him take over late in the fourth. Obviously, you got Russell and Reeves kind of similar role players in a sense with their shooting style and their capabilities on the outside of the perimeter. They'll definitely have their games where one's better than the other. But as long as you're keeping it around that 15 to 20-point range, I think they're going to have what it takes to go a long way in this playoff series.
Yeah, so you have anything else to add on this series, or can we go ahead and move on?
Lakers in 5.
Lakers in 5. All right, I'll say, like I said, Lakers in 6. So moving on, we probably have the most unfortunate game of the first round, and that's Bucks versus Heat.
Yeah.
And, dude, there's this stupid injury luck, man. So we have, obviously, we have Tyler Hero going down with a broken hand. It's going to put him out 4 to 6 weeks, pretty much out for the rest of the playoffs. I still don't think the Heat win this series, even if Giannis didn't play. But Giannis is probable for the next game. For those of you that don't know, Giannis took a hard land on his back, had like a lower back contusion or something like that. His X-rays were negative, though. He didn't come back into that game. He got injured early in the first. But I think he is probable to play next game. He's obviously probably going to be dealing with this injury for the rest of the season, which is a little bit unfortunate for him and for the Bucks in general.
I'm not worried about that injury affecting the way he plays. If we saw a few years ago when he had that hyperextended right knee and he still carried the Bucks pretty far in the playoffs, I'm not worried about how that's going to affect him. Obviously, losing Tyler Hero for the Heat, that's a major blow. You know, coming in, getting good 20 points a game average. I mean, he'll get you 20 a game. He'll never go below, and he'll probably never go above. Him out 4 to 6 weeks, that's tough. But Heat were already up in this game when they lost Tyler Hero. Kyle Lowry took over. Jimmy Butler.
But Giannis wasn't there.
Giannis wasn't there. Yeah, okay, that's a good point.
Well, I chose Bucks in 4 initially, so the Heat have already played better than I thought they would play. I mean, they're so wishy-washy. I mean, Jimmy Butler's awesome, but
he decided to shoot today, and I think yesterday, and I think that's a big factor in this series. Is will Jimmy Butler shoot, or will he not?
Well, and Bam finally took some shots, man. It makes me so mad to watch Bam because Bam has the potential to be one of the best centers in the NBA. He already is. I mean, he's a terrific defender, but there's some games where he just will not look for his shots. He finally took some shots the other day, had a good game, finished with 22, 9, and 7. I think it could be interesting. I still, even with this win, even if Giannis is a little bit banged up, I'm going to say Bucks in 5. I still think that they reverse sweep here.
Bucks in 5. Ooh, I'm gonna go Bucks in 6.
I could see it. I could see Jimmy Butler going off and the rest of the team having one more good game.
Yeah, because Gabe Vincent 4 for 5 from 3, 5 for 6 from the field total, 15 points. You really can't get much more efficient than that.
Well, I don't understand. This is kind of off what you're saying,
yeah.
But I don't understand Kyle Lowry at all, man. He had a great play-in, great 2 games in the play-in, and he comes out here and he shot one shot. It's like in 18 and a half minutes, and it's like, I don't know.
I think that's like a fair assessment is like where was he? But when you got Martin going for 15 points, Kevin Love 18 points, you got Gabe Vincent 15, barely missed 1 shot. Tyler Hero had 12 before he broke his hand. He probably could have gotten up to that 20 range if he had taken over. And then you got Jimmy Butler with 35, Bam Adebayo with 22. I mean, what else do you want Kyle Lowry to do? You want him to put in another 15? I mean, there's not enough time in the game to get all 5 players or all 10 players in double digits.
Fair enough.
I think.
I wish he would have just taken some extra shots, though.
Maybe 1 or 2 shots
just
wouldn't have hurt him. It wouldn't have hurt. Obviously, the result would have padded the score a little bit, but it was the Bucks game to lose or it was the Heat's game to lose at that point, especially after Tyler Hero injury and Giannis injury affecting the second half of the game the way it did. If the Heat lost, it wasn't going to be because of Kyle Lowry.
I agree. Anyways, let's move on that note. I want to talk a little bit more about the Bucks. We'll get into that and when we talk more about the playoffs in a whole. So next game, this is another one of the best games of the first games. That's Clippers versus Suns. Obviously, you had the Kawhi Leonard game looking like it was Kawhi carrying the 2019 Raptors. You had Kawhi versus KD. I mean, Russell Westbrook shot 3 for 19, but gosh, he looked awesome. He, especially down the stretch, was playing awesome defense, had a couple clutch free throws, got that incredible block on Devin Booker, and then had the awareness to grab the ball and throw it off him out of bounds. I mean, that was unbelievable game.
Great awareness by him throughout the game. Shooting, that's not who he is. He's not a shooter. And he never has been a shooter.
Yes, I do wish he would take less shots because there were a lot of really questionable shots in that game. And like I said, he shot 16% from the field.
Admire the confidence.
Yeah, but I mean, this is the Clippers team that's so deep. I mean, when you have Kawhi going off like that, I mean, you have several players that can still step up. It's going to be rough without Paul George in there. I mean, you really see where they have a chance to beat this Suns team and where, honestly, the Suns are going to struggle for the rest of the series. The Suns just don't have a bench, man. Their entire starting lineup played awesome. 1 through 5, every single starter played out of his mind today or yesterday.
Except Chris Paul.
No, Chris Paul played a great game, man. He didn't have a lot of points, but he's not looked to score when you got Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. He ended up getting 11 boards and 10 assists, so he had a double-double without points.
But they lost.
They did lose.
Chris Paul, 1 for 2 from 3. 10 assists, 11 rebounds is ridiculous. The fact that he led the entire Suns team in rebounds, I don't even know how to explain that. Just a bunch of loose balls and coming off the rim the right way. I think they lost this because Chris Paul didn't do enough offensively. I'm going to say it. Kevin Durant, 27 points. Torrey Craig, 22. That's not who he is for the most part. DeAndre Ayton finally scored a little bit more. Got 18. Devin Booker with 26. KD and Devin Booker can go off for 40 whenever they want. But the fact that Chris Paul kind of was just like, go for it. I don't know. That was rough, especially their bench combining for 10 points. Do you know who Wainwright or Landell is? Hardly anyone does, unless you're a true super fan of the NBA. No one knows who they are, and their bench struggled. The bench barely got any minutes, honestly. 7 minutes, 5 minutes, 8 minutes.
Yeah, so the bench was in this game. You're not going to believe this stat. So I just calculated in my head. So if I'm slightly off,
yeah,
the starters were plus 31 on the plus minus. Devin Booker was the only one that was minus. The bench was minus 56. Minus 56. Like I said, I'm not positive I did my math completely correct. But there was not one bench player that went in the positive. Terrence Ross was the closest there was. He was -1. He only played for 4 minutes. Bismack Biyombo played for 4.5 minutes, was -11. I mean, Ish Wainwright played for 6.5 minutes, was -12. I mean, the bench was horrible. I would like to see Monty Williams play a little bit more. Josh Okogie, I thought he had a good end to his season, but I mean, man, it's so hard to win a series when they had one bench player get over 10 points, and that was Landry Shamet. But I mean, when your bench is getting -56 in the plus minus, I mean, gosh. And then, looking at the rest of the series, I mean, you're not going to have Paul George. This is the team you have for this series, but either way, I think I'm going to end up still going. I'm going to go Suns and I'm going to say 6. I really want to say 7. I kind of underestimated this Clippers team a little bit, but I'm going to say Suns in 6. Sorry. The thing I'm most excited for the rest of the series is the coaching battle. Obviously you have Tyronn Lue for the Clippers, and then you have Monty Williams for the Suns. I think both these guys are going to make some really good changes throughout this series. I think you're going to see a lot of change and moves and counter moves. It's going to be a chess match. I'm really excited to see what the coaches do.
Definitely a chess match. But to bring it back to Chris Paul real quick, I mean, I remember a week ago where he was 7 for 11 from 3. In this game, he took 2 threes, and 8 shots total. I mean, everyone else on their starters doubled his amount of shots taken, except for Torrey Craig, 12. But Torrey Craig was 9 for 12, 2 for 4, 22 points. Chris Paul has got to produce more on offense, and we know he can. We know he can go off for 20. 7 points is just unacceptable. And then, especially considering that he had 7 points, the fact that Westbrook went 3 for 19, and the Clippers still won, just shows how close this game was, obviously, and how wide open the scoring margin could have been. it could have been. I mean, the Suns bench sucked.
It was terrible. I
Suns
mean, when
bench
you're
sucked.
when you're 80, when you're minus 80 from the starters,
Yeah.
I mean that's awful. I mean, gosh, and then, like I said, they weren't even getting crazy amount of minutes. Like they were just they would take a starter out on the floor, and then the Clippers would go on these huge runs, and then Monty Williams would be like, "Crap, got to put the starters back in." And it was like, and they're not gonna be able to do this the whole playoffs either. Like they're gonna have to play their bench a little bit. Anyways, what's your final prediction for this series?
I mean, it's a tough one. I think before this game happened, I would like to have said Suns and maybe 6, but Clippers in 6.
Interesting.
I'll go Clippers in 6.
And if they get out of the series and Paul George comes back, you never know what's going to happen. But moving on to the final game one, I mean, we're going to talk about this one for like a minute maybe.
Yeah, there's nothing really here to talk about.
Nuggets versus Timberwolves. I mean, it was a blowout the whole game. Jokic had, like you said, Jokic was having fun out there. Jamal Murray played great. I mean, there's really nothing to say about this. The Timberwolves looked terrible. The Nuggets looked great. I mean, you have anything you want to say about it?
Trade Rudy Gobert. I mean, he's
I'm not sure you can at this point.
No, yeah.
Everything you gave up for him. You can't
starting
justify that.
center, barely played more than half the game. 13 rebounds, 0 assists, did nothing on the offensive side. 8 points on 3 for 5, so pretty efficient, but everyone was relying on Anthony Edwards, and he's just not seasoned enough to get the job done for Timberwolves, especially against a experienced, powerhouse in Denver.
Yeah.
Especially with reigning MVP Jokic. You got Jamal Murray playing out of his mind. I mean, it's gonna be nearly impossible for Minnesota to come out of this alive.
I'll take. I really want to say Denver in 5. I'll say Denver in 4, though. I think they get the sweep here.
I'm gonna go Denver in 5. I'm gonna give Minnesota a chance.
Okay.
They got to this position 42-40 on the year for their record. I think Minnesota can pull out 1 win, but it will not be more than that.
Cool. So, moving on to our final segment here, we're running a little bit tight on time, so we are just gonna kind of speed through this. Let's start with the Western Conference. Xander, I'll get to you first. Just a quick, which team will win and how many games will it take? So you said Clippers to win the first series. So Nuggets or Clippers in the second series, and how many games?
I'm gonna go Clippers in the second series. If it is Nuggets and Clippers, I'm gonna go Clippers in 6.
6, okay. Moving on down, you said you had Warriors and Lakers. Who you got in that series?
Warriors. I'm sorry, Andrew Crank, if you're listening. Warriors, but I'm going to go 7.
Warriors and 7. That's going to be, if the two of them face off, that'll be a good series.
If they
and
face
then
off.
Final series of the West, you got the Clippers versus the Warriors. Who you got?
Warriors. Not biased at all.
I think I know where this is going. How many games?
I'm going to go 6, though. I think Clippers are dangerous this year. If they can make it out of that first round, they got Paul George back, Russell Westbrook, a little bit more consistent, especially with his shooting. Take a little bit less shots, be more consistent. They'll make it a match with anyone they play. But Warriors they're better. Flat out, they're better than the Clippers.
Well, I like the confidence in your team. I have no confidence in my team ever.
You shouldn't.
So.
No one should.
Moving on to the Eastern Conference. So you said you had Bucks versus, you said Cavaliers, correct, over Knicks? No, you said Knicks.
I
you
said
Knicks in 6.
I said Knicks in 6.
So Bucks or Cavaliers in round 2?
Bucks.
How many games?
I'm gonna go 6.
6, okay. And then you got Sixers versus Celtics.
That is gonna be because I'm almost certain that's gonna be the matchup. That will be a very, very good matchup. I think it could go to 7.
Matchup, yeah.
I think it could go to 7. I think if Joel Embiid doesn't take over in a lot of those games, it's gonna be a Celtics game, like Celtics series. I think Celtics will win in 7. I think it's gonna go that deep. But yeah, Celtics in 7.
Gotcha. And then Celtics Bucks in the conference championship.
Okay, we've already seen this a few times this season, and Celtics for the majority.
You saw this matchup last year too.
Yeah, and Celtics won that one.
They did, but Chris Middleton was out, and it took 7.
And it still went to 7. But Giannis has got the back contusion, which I know takes a little bit to heal from. And I don't know if he does make it back in time, and if the rehab goes well, how that's going to affect him later on down the stretch of these playoffs. I'm gonna go Bucks though. I think the Bucks really have what it takes.
How many games?
6.
6. So now you got Warriors Bucks. Who's winning the championship?
Warriors.
Man, he wanted to say
Warriors.
he wanted to say Bucks. It took him too long to say Warriors.
I think. Yeah. Unfortunately, I think. Well, I don't know. I mean, the Bucks are big.
You can defer. You can just say no prediction.
No, I'm gonna go Warriors.
Okay.
I'm gonna go Warriors in 5.
Alrighty. Moving on for me, I've got Nuggets Suns second round. I'm gonna take the Suns in 7. That's gonna be such a close. I don't have as much faith in the Suns as I did before. Game 1.
I still have a lot of faith in them, but
I do too. But the bench is gonna be a problem. Then
Yeah,
you go
absolutely.
over to game 2, or the bottom half of the Western Conference playoffs. I personally have the Warriors versus the Lakers. I think I'm gonna go Lakers in 7, but that is gonna be such a close series. Sorry, Zander. I do like the Warriors actually, but
I think Lakers are gonna beat the Warriors.
I'm gonna go Lakers in 7. Then with the Lakers Suns, which like I said before the John Morant thing, I didn't even have the Lakers winning in the first round.
Yeah, we disagree there. I think Lakers, especially down the stretch, they've proven that they can win.
Yeah, so then we're moving on to the Western Conference Finals, Suns versus Lakers. I'm going to take Suns in 6. So you got a finals with the Suns out of the West. Moving over to the East, Heat versus Cavaliers for me. Sorry, not Heat. Bucks versus Cavaliers for me. I'll take the Bucks in 6 probably, maybe 5. I'll say 6 to play it safe. Celtics versus 76ers. I think this might be the best playoff series throughout the whole playoffs. I'm going to take the Celtics in 7.
Okay.
Celtics versus Bucks. I would have said Bucks in 7 before the Giannis back contusion. I'm so split on this series right now, though. I'm going to go Celtics in 7. Like I said, I initially predicted Bucks versus Suns championship. I predicted the Bucks to win it all. It's just going to depend on what happens with Giannis. If it still happens, I won't be surprised. But Celtics Suns, I think this is the year the Celtics get it done. I'm going to say Celtics in 7 against the Suns. Celtics win the NBA championship.
Well, the Celtics are definitely I don't know if you recently saw their favor now as of 2 or 3 hours ago, passing the Bucks.
Wow, I did not know. I did not see that.
I
did. I forgot to. Speaking of the Bucks, I forgot to do a point while we were on Bucks Heat. Did you see the Instagram picture that Jimmy Butler posted after they won? It was like a picture of like a hunter with like some like bucks in his scope or whatever.
That's gonna come back to haunt him.
It was funny. I thought it was a good time. Anyways, I think that's all we got for this episode. Thanks again for joining us, Zander. It was a blast. Do you have anything you want to shout out on social media?
I'm gonna shout out Jake and Crank. Y'all know where y'all at. Sorry to Jake's Bulls. Sorry to Andrew's Lakers, but Warriors are beating them both.
Well, the Bulls are already toast.
They already beat them. They're done.
Unfortunately.
Warriors are beating the Lakers in that round. Gonna send Lakers home.
Yeah. So I appreciate you hopping on. Like I said, if you guys want to go follow us on socials, we have a Twitter @RutsPod. If you want to follow my personal social, it's @NoahWillard8. Thanks again, guys, for joining us. We'll be back next week as we continue to run up the score and continue to discuss the playoffs as it unfolds. Thank you, guys, and we'll see you guys next week.
All right, thank you.